Hi, I'm Jason Garrett, and welcome to Dadograms, where my goal is to help you learn how to win in life. Sometimes that means talking about leadership, sometimes about money, sometimes about personal growth, and sometimes it's about something as simple and as serious as keeping your word. Today's Dadogram is about commitment that too many people treat as optional. And I'll warn you up front, this one might sting a little bit. In the last few years, my wife and I have noticed something that really disturbs us, and in some cases just breaks our hearts. It's the number of people who decide, often casually, to rehome their family pet. Now, I'm not talking about someone who physically can't care for an animal anymore because of a medical emergency or a truly life-changing event. I'm talking about the much more common situation where life just got busy, or inconvenient, or the new apartment doesn't allow pets, or the person has to go back to the office after working from home. And so they put these sad pictures of their pets on Facebook Marketplace looking to rehome the family pet. Or perhaps worse, they just drive into the middle of town with their pet, open the door, and put them on the street. It's happening all over, for real, and it's just plain downright unacceptable. Here's my personal belief, and I want to drive this home. If you take a pet, whether it's a cat, a dog, a fish, a bird, or a snake, it doesn't matter. That is a lifetime commitment. You keep that pet. You care for that pet. You make inconvenient sacrifices for that pet. You love that pet for their entire life. That's the way it works. And if you're not sure you can do that, don't get a pet. They are not a stuffed animal that you can just disregard after a while. It's a living, breathing being that is totally dependent on you. And before you make any kind of decision about a pet, you better think about your future and not just your today. And part of the thinking ahead means understanding the cost of care and feeding. A dog can easily eat through $1,000 to $3,000 worth of dog food each year. Cats are a little cheaper, but from my experience having two of them in the house, they're not much cheaper at all. And you're going to have to add in routine veterinarian visits, vaccinations, and occasional emergencies. And that could easily cost you $500 to $1,500 every single year. Sometimes much more if something serious happens. And it's not just about money, it's about flexibility. When you take on a pet, your life becomes harder. Your choices become limited. Having an animal can limit your housing options. Many apartments, condos, and rental homes don't allow pets at all. Or if they do, they're going to charge you hefty deposits and monthly fees. Certain breeds are banned outright in some places. Even your travel changes. Plenty of hotels, Airbnbs, vacation rentals have strict no pet policies or charge extra when they do allow them. And if you are going to travel and you can't take the dog or cat with you, what's your plan there? If you aren't ready for the costs and the restrictions, both in your budget and in your lifestyle, then you're not ready for a pet. Let me give an example from the military world, and then I'll get to the civilian world as well. This is one I've seen many a times. Let's say you're a brand new to the Navy, maybe a new ensign starting flight training down here in Pensacola. You realize that you're alone quite a bit, at home studying constantly, and you've always wanted a dog. So you're in one place for the next year. Maybe now's the right time to get one, huh? So you do. But how about 2 years down the road when you finish flight training and you get assigned to a squadron, and suddenly you have to deploy for 6 months on board an aircraft carrier? What's your plan for your pet then? Your pet, who is totally dependent on you, is your best friend who doesn't understand when you walk out one day and are just gone. What's your plan for all of that? Is there someone you trust to care for your dog while you're gone? Because likely that person's in your squadron as well and they're going with you. Or are you going to be the kind of person who starts to look for a good home because your orders finally came through? Because here's the truth. Those orders were always coming. That deployment was always part of the deal. If you didn't think that far ahead, that's on you. And your pet shouldn't have to pay the price for your lack of planning. The same goes for civilian life. If that perfect apartment near your new job doesn't allow pets, you don't get rid of the pet. You can't. Getting a pet is for life. If you go back to the office after 2 years of working from home, you don't get rid of the pet. The pet is for life. You made a commitment, and commitment means staying when it's inconvenient. Think about it this way. Would you get rid of a child because your work schedule changed? Would you? Because they became too much work? I hope in hell you wouldn't. Your pet is a family member. They trust you completely. They depend on you completely. And you get the benefit of a loving, loyal companion. But it's a relationship you can't just throw away without real consequences. Think about that. If you do rehome or abandon a pet, who sees that? Do you have kids? Did they just see you abandon a family member for convenience? What will your kids learn from you? Learn from your example. If they see you give up a pet when it's inconvenient, what are you teaching them? That it's okay to walk away from commitment? That it's fine to let someone else handle the hard part? Because that's the lesson they'll carry into their friendships, their marriages, and their own parenting one day. I came across something on Facebook that fits this perfectly. Someone just as irritated by this trend as I am. They reminded everyone that dogs sleep 12 to 14 hours a day. So when you're at work and your kids are at school, guess what your dog's doing? Sleeping. And at night, they'll sleep then too. They only seem to be up and at 'em when you're around. So that dog that you just rescued 6 months ago when you were teleworking and now you want to get rid of because you have to go to work, great news. You don't have to. They'll sleep while you're gone and be ready to play when you get home. And if you think the dog deserves someone who's home all day, do you mean somebody who doesn't work? Well, guess what? Those people often can't afford to take care of the dog. The dog you took loves you, and he's fine with you earning money to feed him. Trust me. So I think this guy absolutely got it right. And as a cat owner, it goes double for cats. They sleep all the dang time and come alive when we come home and are hungry or want to be petted. So the same thing goes for cats. And fish, as it turns out. Now to think about it, we've got those too. They don't necessarily need to be petted, mind you, but they do need to be fed, and they can pretty much take care of themselves. A pet doesn't need you there 24/7. They need you there for life. So here's my challenge to you. Before you bring home a pet, think about your next 5, 10, or 15 years of your life and theirs. Consider the moves, the job changes, the deployments, finding that significant other, having kids, the schedule shifts, and on and on and on. If you can see yourself still caring for that pet through it all, go ahead. You're ready. But if you can't, wait. Sometimes the most adult thing you can do when it comes to a pet is to not do anything. Because a pet is not a placeholder for your convenience. They're a living, feeling, trusting being who deserves your loyalty. I'll say it again. If you commit to a pet, that commitment is for the rest of their natural life. You keep that commitment. They didn't choose you, you chose them. And they will give you their whole life in love and loyalty. The least you can do is to give them yours in return. If you know someone who needs this message, please forward it to them. And I encourage you to subscribe and go through my earlier Dadograms. My Dadograms are evergreen. They are just as useful to you now as they are 10 years in the future. And until next time, keep your commitments, especially to those who can't speak for themselves. That's how you win in life and how you make the world a better place for the people and the animals that depend on you.